The Demons of Camaron were born from the fire of stubborn defiance. Defiance against overwhelming odds, defiance against the numbers, and defiance against fate. At a small ranch house, 65 men of the French Foreign Legion would fight to the bitter end against over 3,000 Mexican soldiers, with an unyielding spirit of valor. Their actions would cement the Legion as a force that values fidelity to mission at all cost and form the mythos at the core of that elite unit. In 1863, the 3rd Company, 1st Battalion of the French Foreign Legion, found itself assigned to protect a vital supply convoy in the state of Veracruz, Mexico. The legionnaires of 3rd Company were informed that there was likely to be an ambush, so they should expect combat. Hearing this, some of the bravest frogs to have ever lived volunteered to take command of the leaderless company, Lieutenants Villian and Morday underneath Captain Jean Danjou. As the men of 3rd Company set out, they had no idea that an entire Mexican army was on the way. Their fate proved that the French aren't just croissant-munching surrender monkeys. They are in fact stone-cold demons of combat. The French stopped at 7 a.m. to have coffee, only to be quickly interrupted by the spotting of Mexican cavalry in the area. The Mexican army was about to learn a valuable lesson. Never interrupt a Frenchman's morning coffee. Seeing that they would be outnumbered, Captain Danjou decided to move the company to a more defensible position, a hacienda with 10-foot walls. The French were charged twice along the way, taking casualties, but ultimately repelled the attack and reached the walls of the ranch house. The legionnaires quickly fortified the position in order to provide as much time as they could to allow the supply convoy to retreat. At the same time, the rest of the Mexican force arrived, numbering 3,300. Seeing that he was completely surrounded and outnumbered 50 to 1, Danjou gathered his men and, reminiscent of classic French chivalry, made each and every man swear an oath to fight to the death rather than surrender. He made them swear the oath upon his wooden prosthetic hand, a hand which was lost in his first war. At this point, this was the 4th French war that Captain Danjou's wooden hand would have been present for. Again, in another quintessentially French move, Danjou shared his wine with all of the men and encouraged them with a speech, which one survivor recounted as those noble words that warm one's heart and make the final sacrifice less difficult to face. Captain Danjou and his men were now set to become the Demons of Camaron. The Mexican general demanded surrender, to which Danjou replied that the Legion had plenty of ammunition. The Mexicans then charged the gateways. 3 hours of battle ensued, where Danjou fell while leading from the front. Casualties mounted on both sides. The French were out of water by this point, but fought on. The Mexicans then offered a second chance at surrender, to which a sergeant answered, "Merde," or "Go to hell." The battle raged on. By 2:30 in the afternoon, the second in command had died, leaving Lieutenant Morday the only officer left with only 20 legionnaires still able to fight. By 5 o'clock, the house caught fire and only a dozen men remained. A third offer for surrender was given. Still, it was refused. At 6 o'clock, the last of Danjou's men, now a mere 5 in total, including Lieutenant Morday, held out in the stable house. With no more ammunition left, they chose the only sane option. "Oh, you thought I would say surrender?" Absolutely not. These are the demons we're talking about. The 5 men mounted a bayonet charge. 2 of the remaining men fell, one of which died taking a bullet for their lieutenant, and with just 3 left, they were ordered to surrender, to which the last corporal replied, "Only if we can keep our arms and you take care of our wounded." The men had fought so fiercely, the Mexicans agreed. The surviving trio was taken before the Mexican general, to which he asked, "Is this all the men who are left?" Then, in amazement, the general exclaimed, "These are not men, they are demons." The wounded would be cared for, and the surviving legionnaires would be returned to France. Captain Danjou's wooden hand was recovered, and is now the most cherished artifact in Legion history. Every year, on April 30th, the Legion holds a memorial parade, in which Danjou's hand is carried at the very front of the formation. Call them frogs, call them baguette munchers, call them smelly Pepe Le Pew skin flautists, but above all, call them demons. Because at Camaron, less than 60 opposed a whole army. They were crushed by numbers, however. It was life rather than courage that abandoned those French legionnaires that day.